habitat. Words can build or words can break. Speak the truth for all our sake. A hand that feeds can also bind, but peace can free a restless mind. Fix the cracks, don't paint them bright. The world's not whole without the fight. So rise and speak, don't just comply. Change the script, don't live the lie. Counter this, counter that.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Counter This. I am here today with David. How are you doing?
Terribly.
You're enjoying all of the weather that we've been getting this past week?
No.
Obviously not. I don't think anyone is.
I'm doing great. It's been a weird week. Been a wild week. You know, we got all the ice and stuff down here, and it's been a little treacherous driving, especially the last few days in the neighborhoods and stuff, as stuff melts and then refreezes overnight. But like the main roads are like pretty solid now, so getting back to some kind of normalcy. So that's good. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Just yeah, you know, just living the dad life and working and all that. Nothing really new. How about you?
Adjusting to the new schedule. So finally figured out how to sleep after a shift 4 to midnight and not stay up for like 4 more hours.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know, man. You got to have some blackout curtains or something.
Trust me, I've got an eye mask, so it works just as well.
Oh, I couldn't sleep with something on my face.
Well, I've just learned to live with it.
I don't need it. I just put the blackout curtains on and snooze, man.
Yeah, well,
Once I finally pass out from doom scrolling for 2 hours while laying in bed. Actually, I'm really just playing chess, but
no, I put on an audiobook. All electronics go off. About 30 minutes of listening to stuff like we're about to talk about, and then I fall asleep. So pretty easy sleeping.
excellent.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure people just absolutely love this conversation.
Well, probably. But since we talked about teasing what we were going to talk about, how about we just break it on down? Today's conversation is not going to be a conversation about specific ICE agents, specific protesters. This is going to be a policy-based discussion, a historical look at what we've done in history when it comes to immigration and border policies, and kind of what we'd like to see for a border policy. Had to throw it in there.
The stuff on the ground.
So now that we got that one out of the way, let's dive a little bit into what we're looking at for the history of border policies and immigration. Because a lot of what I base my policy on is history, what we've seen work, at different times of history for different reasons. And a lot of that has gone into the thesis of what I'd like to see for our future. A lot of mine is more based on kind of things that need to happen to change back to more of an open border where we take in migrants, where we take in people that actually need economic help, that they're escaping from countries that are war torn or things like that. So I don't know if you had anything to say on your opening or you want to just dive on in.
No, I think we should just lock everybody out and just be completely protectionist and just say F for everybody else and just honestly, we should probably just start nuking third world countries to get rid of these people because they just cause so many damn issues. But that's a joke. That's a joke. Totally kidding. We're going.
Well, it's a good thing this is going up on Rumble because YouTube might not like that joke.
I think YouTube would be fine with that. It'll be fine.
We'll
We're
see.
not we don't need to be nuking anybody. I don't think that helps anybody. Okay, I
Oh
think
no.
that's pretty obvious. YouTube is YouTube's not that strict, man. People have some crazy views. Okay, that go
Oh,
on YouTube and nobody says anything.
well,
They
it
care
depends on.
more. They care more about calls to violence and like they even let you cuss now. So again, so I mean they don't really. They're free, man. They let us do things. They
Some
let us do
things.
things.
Some
Most things.
things.
Most things. Like I said, as long as it's not like a call to violence or anything like that, I'm pretty sure they really don't care. So I've seen some wild stuff said on this it by lefties too, mind you. And they don't do anything. By right wing people too. They don't do anything. Like they just it depends on what the context is. So if it's a joke, it's a joke.
Oh, YouTube, it was a joke. Don't take it too seriously. All right. Well,
Now they might shadow ban you, but they, they won't get rid of the channel or anything.
well,
Depending.
we're just as good as being shadow bans. We're just starting out, tiny
There you go.
channel. So
We're
let's
figuring it out.
dive let's dive into some of this history because
Let's
there's a
ride the
lot to
waves.
break down when it comes to the history of borders and immigration and the thoughts that go into building those policies. And when you're starting off on this, you kind of got to go back a little ways, talking about the ancient and classical foundations, because this is the first time you really see some robust policy about immigration and borders. This is also kind of the first time you really see borders that are heavily enforced, where you have an empire that is building itself up and making the laws around if you're a Roman citizen or you're not a Roman citizen, these are the protections that you have. So, diving into this one, we have Aristotle really being that forefront when it comes to immigration policy. He talks about being a citizen of a country and what being a citizen means. And I think a lot of this has been skewed in our more modern era, but he talks about being a citizen of a country means that you have civic duties. And a lot of that comes with being an actual member of a certain country. And that's a big part of what we'll get into on our discussion when we break down some of this policy in the later parts of this video, because that's a big part of what I think when it comes to having immigration policies. He also brings about the legitimacy of law, um, and the community that recognizes it. So a lot of this is talking about the cohesiveness of the community, and that's a big part of why you saw this, because you had these smaller countries, and we are we and they are they, and they think different than we do. And this is a big part of why you had these border policies and why you didn't just allow just anyone to come in. Of course, it was much harder to regulate back then, but this was the start of the whole thought process when it comes to border policies. So, getting a little bit later into history, you kind of see the next rise of of border policy and immigration thoughts. And a lot of this kind of has to do around Italy when you're seeing the rise of the banking industry, kind of a nod to our modern day. And a lot of this was around Machiavelli and the rise of northern Italy and their dominance. So he brought about the fact that you have immigration and you have borders, and a lot of this is for the stability of the public and the safety of the public. And this is not to divide anyone, but this is a specifically safety thought that you can't have borders without also keeping the people that reside within those borders safe. And that'll be a big part of my foundation for our policy that I'd like to see going forward. He also talked about the fact that, you got to be feared over loved sometimes when it comes to enacting these policies. And one of the best deterrents is sometimes just to be scared to do a thing. Like, I'm not going to come into your country because you have extremely harsh punishments if I'm going to break into your country. So we've also seen that in other places in history. We'll get into Japan and kind of what they did with their border policies, because they had some of the most strict border policies a little bit after this. So another big part of that time frame was Hobbes. Hobbes wrote a great book, which if you haven't read it, I definitely think you should. It is a very good look at what the modern government system is, and it's called Leviathan. And he really breaks it down, and he doubles down on security is foundational for a country. And when order collapses, liberty becomes fragile. So you can't really have a country and borders if you're not keeping that secure. And if you're not keeping that secure, then you can't even have freedoms. So a lot of that will be part of my basis on border policy as well. He also goes into perceived insecurity and the spreads of the act of violence because of the lack of trust. And so this kind of gets into that next little part um, that hasn't been thought up before. And it's a big part of what's going on today when we talk about border policy. Because even though people might be coming in to make a better life, but they're not doing it through the right means, they could be a completely trustful person. They could mean absolutely no harm to America, but you don't know that. And that's that perceived insecurity. And it causes more of these problems that we're seeing in our modern day. Um, we'll kind of have to scroll down just a little bit in my notes to get to that next big section, because the most border restrictive people we've ever seen in history, the Asian countries, we had Japan and China being absolute isolationists during the 16 to the 1800s. And y- some of this will be used for some of my arguments for what I'd like to see in our current position in history. But getting into Japan here, you have them having extremely controlled borders, only allowing shipping at certain points from foreign countries. And this was a completely closed down country. And a lot of this was for stability and ideological control. uh, I know that sounds a little bit authoritarian, but when you're talking about a country that just went through some massive, massive fighting with the other Asian countries, were a little bit torn down. They had a lot of infighting
Now,
within
was
their.
this after their empirical run that they had?
Mhm. So this was after all of the fighting within their own country, where you have an extremely divided country and no one's really thinking alike. And this is them and we are we,
Yeah,
and
didn't they like
them.
go to war with like China or something?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. This was right after all of that time. And you
Okay.
also have right at the same time China doing the absolute same thing that Japan was doing. They were both absolutely destroyed by these conflicts.
Mm.
And they had a lot of uncohesive uh, populations living within their countries. And so at that time, they were like, hey, we're not going to take in other peoples. We're going to focus on having a cohesive country so that we can rebuild our economics and we can be a robust country again. We can be stable. So sometimes you have to have some restriction on that. They did pay an economic price. Japan heavily paid that economic price, which is also why I look at my border policy a little bit differently. I'm not trying to be a complete isolationist that doesn't allow anyone in because, that doesn't exactly work. So, diving into this next little bit, we've got Americans founding. And this is where you really have a new idea of how to think about border policy and immigration. And this also ties back into we are a nation that has laws. And a lot of this is for sovereignty so that we can have self preservation and public safety. And that builds on those ideas that our original thinkers had, like Plato. You really had to have this structure and laws and order in the nation to preserve public safety. You also had to have a little bit of legal authority at a federal level to be able to handle some of these things. And that's why I believe that policies should be handled at the federal level for this, and it should be one of the few things that the federal government actually handles. Um, I know you've kind of agreed on that one. That federal
Yeah, pretty
government.
much.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I mean I mean yeah, I mean that's one of their things. It's the securing the border, like the border, interstate commerce, and like foreign stuff. You know, that's pretty much what they're supposed to do.
mhm, yeah, we've come a little bit of a ways from that, just a smidge.
Just a smidge.
But
ICE didn't come around until like the '90s, I think,
mhm. Well,
which
the
is
the current uh, version of what we have for immigration officers. Whereas in
mm,
there was a branch that predated that handled all of that.
mm,
Kind of got rolled into your
Custom and
homeland
Border
security.
Patrol.
Mhm. So
Because
we.
they well, I think was it because we had the FBI, right? We had the FBI, and yeah, Homeland Security in general, but we never. I don't think we ever had like an actual like force like ICE, because I think that was an expansion
Mhm. Of the
of
Department
powers
of Homeland Security. Yeah. So.
to conduct that stuff within the United States.
Mhm.
If I'm correct, I don't know.
Yeah. But that's also when you saw more of a problem where you had even the left wing talking about how we have illegal immigrants in our country that are putting a little bit of a strain on here. They're causing a little bit of a problem for our unions. That's why there was a big push there in the 90s
Mm.
because unions were having a problem. There was a lot of competition where you can underpay this, which keeps your American citizens getting paid less. And so that's kind of why you saw that big push through the 90s and the early 2000s from the left when it came to immigration. Uh,
Mhm.
that is definitely not the case anymore, but we'll get into some of that in a little bit. So we also
I
had another.
disagree, but okay.
All right. Well, we can save that disagreement for.
I think there are extremes that probably want to help criminal or people violent immigrants, illegals, but I don't think I think the vast majority of Americans. It's a very popular issue of getting rid of illegals. Like left, right doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
I think the issue is how we go about it. So yeah,
No, I mean, you do have more of your like progressive left wing, which is like no one's illegal on stolen land, which we'll get into that.
well, you also got super duper libertarians that say the same thing that they
Hmm.
don't believe in closed borders
Oh yeah, trust me,
because
I
they're
got it.
like they're like man or free. We're all free, stuff
Yep.
like that. So we should be able to move about the entire world. I mean, it's like okay, but is that the reality we live in today?
Yeah. Well,
Probably not.
and that I trust me, I got into an argument with someone online because I said I was a libertarian. He was like, "Then you believe in open borders?" And I was like, "Whoa, what?" I was like, "That's like anarcho-capitalist libertarian, bro. That is
Yeah,
not
yeah,
me."
yeah.
Like, there are spectrums to libertarian.
Just like there's spectrums of the whole political spectrum,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But people, they want to use what they want
they
to
want to
use.
box you in, bro. They want
Hmm.
to box you in. They hear one view and they're like, "Oh, so that means you also believe this, and this." It's like, what? No, calm down.
Yeah, but like when they want to attack me for something else, that part doesn't work. And they're like,
Mm.
so now you're this box in the libertarian. And I'm
Hmm.
like, whoa, what the heck is going on? Maybe ask me what I think, and then we can have a discussion on it.
Maybe maybe that's the right thing to do.
Oh, that makes sense. Why would we do it that way?
Yeah, why would we do it that way? We don't. I don't have common sense.
Call out to our founding.
It's not.
Well,
It's not so common anymore.
no. Well, uh, I could say some things, but I don't want to be mean. So, uh,
F it. Say it.
that, we'll save it for later.
Okay. Well, it
uh,
must be pretty bad.
maybe just a smidge, but we did have someone else that was on the forefront at this time frame in the early 1700s who really thought about the laws of nations, and this was Vattel. And he articulates state discretion over admitting foreigners as flowing from sovereignty and domain. And a lot of that just talks about how you have the power as a country with borders to dictate the flow of immigrants into your country based on your current position. Um, you might have to turn the spigot off. You might have to open it back up and have just coming in because you are in an economic robust time that you can really
You have a
grow
labor
your economy.
shortage.
Mhm. So there's a lot of reasons that like you should be flexible with your immigration policy. And this
Mhm.
was brand new to the forefront of thought when it comes to immigration and border policy.
Who is this?
Vattel,
What
Amir,
country?
uh, this was a French guy. Um,
French.
yes.
God love him.
Well, I mean, the 1700s in France was a great time for political thought. So I
Yeah.
really I lean a little bit on those 1700 French political thinkers. They're some great
Viva
men.
la, Viva la revolution.
Yes, sir. But one of his quotes is the sovereign may forbid the entrance of his territory according as he may think it advantageous to the state. A little bit of older English there, but basically breaking down what I had just said. Whereas, according to what is needed by the state, is how you should base your immigration policy. And that's
Mm.
brand new to thought. No one had ever thought about it like that before. They had been extremely rigid when it came to border policy. And that's something I'm going to lean heavily on when I bring up my border policy here. Um, we also have America, early founding of America,
America.
brand new country breaking free from a whole nother country and trying to make a new framework for this country. And you kind of start out with James Madison and his Federalist Papers, which, if you have not read the Federalist Papers, you definitely should. Take it back to the founding, find out what these founding fathers thought, because it might surprise you just a little bit.
No, they're a racist.
Well, maybe they had a right to be. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean, at the time, technically, they did have that right,
Well, I'd be racist against English people too if they had
Or,
just oppressed
or
me.
at least the privileged to be racist.
Oh goodness. Well, I'm glad we got that one. All right. But James Madison really talked about this in the Federalist Paper number 41. And he brought up that security against foreign danger is a primitive objective to a civil society. That if you want to keep your people safe, one of the primary objectives of the federal government should be securing the borders. And this is a big part of why I think that one of the few things that the federal government should actually handle is immigration and border policy. And it's how our founding fathers thought as well. He argued that the powers necessary to obtain that should be held within the federal government. So no state has the right to dictate who and who is not allowed in their state. You can't be like, as say Oklahoma, like, hey, well, I understand what you're saying at the federal level, but we really like these Brazilians, and we don't care what your policy is. We're gonna bring them here. Not allowed. The federal government is the forefront of this security of the nation. We also had your Constitution bringing up a lot of this as well. Security against foreign dangers is one of the primary objectives in Article 1, Section 8, to establish a uniform rule of naturalization. And I'm sure we will talk about that here in just a second.
Yeah, we
Uh,
need to start getting into some modern stuff so I can talk.
oh, yeah. Well, that was pretty much
So we can argue.
that was well, that was pretty much my wrap up of history. A lot of that is going to be how I base my ideals on border policy. I do think that you can't have a strict border policy that is not able to move with the times based on what's currently going on economically or safety wise and things like that. So I don't know if you had anything on some of what I just said there, but
On
you
which
want
part? The history?
to, yeah, I don't know if you want to kick off the conversation into our actual stances on border policy.
I pretty much agree with everything that was just said. But I can think of some things. I can think of some things.
You're
First,
Southern coming out there.
yeah, the first thing that I just thought of, it's a question, and to you, and I want to see what you think the relevance is, if there is any. I do believe that the vast majority, or at least a majority of illegal immigrants are those that have come over here through visas, flew here, and just overstayed and never went back. If they're not even crossing the border. And we did have a lot of people come in across the border during the last administration. Some people say it was 10 million people. Some people say it was 20 million people. You know, it seems like every time Trump opens his mouth, the number goes higher and higher. I think he even got up. I think he even at one point said it was 30 million people. It's like, who knows? But what I do know is that the unemployment rate is still sitting at 4%, roughly, around
Mhm.
4%. So, where exactly are you seeing the issues when it comes to the economy? Because I'm not sure that it's in labor. It might be somewhere else. And so, yeah.
So more when it comes to economics, when it comes to immigration.
Because that's
Um,
the biggest, that's the crux of the argument, right? It's I mean, put security as far as physical security aside, like, you know, we got to have proper
mhm,
vetting and all that stuff. But like economic security, that's a whole other, that's like a different thing. So,
mhm.
yeah, go ahead.
So I mean, there's multiple areas where we're talking about America being in like a housing crisis.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more demand there. You're talking about food prices, which is like an everyday conversation. We're talking about energy prices. We have, I mean, if you're taking it, I I don't think when Trump's saying 30 million, he's talking about just under the last administration. I think this is more of a count in more local times. From what I've seen, estimates are around 15 million. Um, Kind of just depends on your locality and things like
That are
that.
total here?
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
which is it's really hard to pinpoint, you know,
Mm.
where we're not we're not keeping track, and like that's a big part of the problem. Um, all of these
Ankle
people are.
monitors for all immigrants.
Hey, I mean, if you just give them a cell phone, it's just as good. Yeah, so and a lot cheaper too. It's like, hey, here's your little Motorola phone. Have
Cheaper
fun.
than an ankle
Yeah,
bracelet?
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's like you know what they're definitely going to keep charged? Their cell phone.
Unless they bring their own. Or they just go to Walmart and buy a new one.
True, true. But I mean,
Buy pay as you go.
who's going to say no to a free phone though?
I mean, that's true. You're just gonna be like, hey, we got a phone. You want it? You want a phone?
Yep. Hey, we're not talking iPhones here, but I mean, you could give them like well, maybe you could give them like the iPhone SE. That's like $300, you know?
You can get them the Trump phone.
That'd be so ironic, you
that
know.
hasn't even been released yet, but yeah.
uh, but no, when you're talking
Anyway,
to
back to
economics,
the economic side. Yeah.
when you're talking the economics of it, a lot of this is more just the extra demand on local localities when it comes to things like healthcare, when it comes to things like housing, when it comes to things like food cost. The extra part of that is if you are overstaying your visa, I mean, you do have that taxpayer ID number, so you are paying in. But the extra part of that is if you just have people that are crossing the border, which was kind of more robust under the last administration, these people aren't paying taxes. Me being in a blue collar industry for most of my life, I've worked next to illegal immigrants. And at the end of the week, they're paid in cash.
Same.
They're living somewhere. They've got four people living in a house, and every dollar that they're saving, they're sending back home. That's economic strain on your economy. These are dollars that are leaving the system and not coming back as we're printing more and more dollars on top of everything. So it's like it's not
I've
like
got
an
it.
overall strain on the economy, but like it is a small strain that we should be able to control.
Do do we not see that? Why is the dollar leaving the United States bad for the United States? Because I could see that being that would get the dollar more entrenched in the world economy, which helps keep us on top. Uh, does it not?
I mean,
Or
there, there's mainly just one argument to that, and that's the
mhm,
velocity of money. The
mhm,
velocity of money within our own country. And when
mhm.
you're having that slow drip out of our country, uh, of dollars just leaving the system, which was it's extremely robust. And like we'll just bring up the Somali community. A lot of them are sending their American dollars over to Somalia, and those dollars are never coming back. They're staying there. They're using that as economic capital in their own country to make themselves wealthy there. That doesn't
That's
benefit us at all.
yeah, but this is where the old school progressive comes out in me. Okay, or at least I could say I could. This is the counter. Okay, counter this. Okay, uh, I'll just give. I'll try to do my best to give the progressive argument. Maybe we shouldn't be focusing so much. This seems more like punching down instead of actually going after the people who actually have way more money out of the country, aka the elites, the millionaires and the billionaires, and they have their money tied up in Swiss bank accounts or they're somewhere else, and we're talking billions and billions of dollars. And while
Mhm.
the people that are sending money back home, are they is it come anywhere near the amount of money that the wealthy have in other places?
That's a whole different discussion, though, because I'm not saying that because that's not okay, that
That's a
is
macro
okay.
discussion.
Yeah. Well, it's like people try to tie the arguments together. Well, it's
Mhm.
like, well, why is this not okay when these people are doing this thing? It's like I don't agree with that either. I
It's called
think
a whataboutism.
Mhm. And it's an argument I've made not here on this show yet, which I'm
Mhm,
sure at some point we will have that discussion,
mhm,
but I've talked about it a lot on my shows where it's like if you're an American company and you're going to be American CEO, an American citizen, all of this, your company should be headquartered in the United States. Your bank should be within the United States. This money should be moving around within the United States. You shouldn't have your company headquartered in China where none of these dollars are coming back into the American system so that they just don't get taxed.
there we go. That didn't mean to derail from immigration. I was just trying
Mm,
to think
no.
of something else.
Oh, well, and I mean, it's a valid point. It's just, I mean, it's
No,
adjacent
no,
to the point.
you're absolutely right. It's to the side.
Mhm.
It's not, it doesn't exactly, uh, yeah, because it's actually kind of, very assumptuous to be like, well, you're only gonna. Why are we focusing on? It's like that's not my only focus, man. This conversation's about immigration
Oh yeah.
and immigrants. Like you see that a lot, especially with the progressives. And so I like to try. I'm trying. I've got to think of counters, man. So
Oh yeah.
because there's a lot of agreement between us, people, beautiful people watching. There's a lot of agreement between us on this issue, and so I'm trying to think of stuff because he's really good at putting out the correct arguments, in my opinion. So I'm trying to counter them in some way because that's the whole point of the show. But yeah.
I do my best, you know. I look through history. I look to see what works and what doesn't work, and I look to see what falls in line with like American ideals. And it's not that I don't like any group of people or that I they just shouldn't be here and they shouldn't have the advantage to become an American and prosper in America. There's there's just a set of rules that we have, and there's a proper way in which to do so. And I think right now that the system is just a little broken. And that's one thing that all sides can agree on, that the immigration system is just a little bit broken right now. We don't have enough judges to handle people that are seeking asylum, so that's a big part of why we have some illegal immigrants coming in through that system. They get released into their country, and then they just never showed up for court dates. True, there are some that did, but like we're just discussing it overall. Whereas like both of those parts matter, but the part that matters more is the people that didn't show up, because that's where the problem lies. Whereas if you had a more robust DHS system that handled these things, and you had all the judges needed, then you could kind of keep track of this. You could handle that right at the border, because it's 100 times harder to handle that problem within your own country.
The question is, well, that's why I got to bring it back to the visas, because that's the majority. So how do we keep that from happening? Or like, can we? Or is that just cutting off the spigot, so to speak? Or
And that would be my argument, at least for now, in our current political climate and our current economic climate, all of that, just shut it on down. No visas for now. Um, I would allow student visas,
Mhm.
student visas with like a 5 year work agreement afterward. Because if you're going to come to America and you're going to benefit from the American education system, because say our our healthcare education is better than it was in your countries, you should then turn around with some of the tax dollars that were put into bringing you here and paying for your education, on top of you paying for some of it. Now you should turn around and benefit the country that benefited you. So I don't know, 5 year work agreement, 3 year work agreement, something like that. Put some money back into our system, be at the forefront of our whatever system it was that you were going to school for, and then go back to your country if that's what you choose to do, and make your country better.
Yeah, and yeah, yeah, and one of the arguments for bringing people here and why we like to spend money on that is because it is kind of a way of having like kind of soft power, or it's more like soft influence.
Hmm.
Because if you can bring people here and show them our way of life and show them the freedoms that they have, and they go back home and they compare it, and it's just like, oh wow, it's like completely different. Oh, over there in America, they got so many different choices. They got so much. They can just go whenever, wherever. They got stores open 24/7, or whatever it is, you know. But that's another thing, is like we've got to build the country up to where it is desirable again. Because I don't know that it is so much. I mean, it might be for third world people,
Yeah. Well, I
but
mean,
what about
our country,
non-third world people?
yeah, our country is 100 times better than a third world country, but we're struggling when it comes to competing with a country like China. We're
Mm.
we're struggling when it comes to competing with a country like Japan or a country like Korea. Like, these are not what you want. If we want to be in a great American country, there are some problems that we need to solve here. And I think part of that is going to come with closing the borders down. The other part that I would allow in is H-1Bs. People that are coming here to work in the American system, where their company is putting up money because they're that desired of a worker. Whereas like, we need this coder to come here because he is at the forefront of coding. Like, I
But then you
would
take away
allow that.
American jobs.
But at the same time, I'd be wanting to handle the illegal immigrants that are within this country, getting some of
Mm.
those out, so that we can open some of this back up. Especially when you're talking about, there's a massive, massive move towards AI taking jobs. And if
Yeah.
all that's left is some of the more menial jobs, factory jobs that are pumping out the materials that we need, food, all of this, where it's like we talk about how Americans don't want to go out to the farm and work. Well, what if that's the only thing that they can do? If AI takes a lot of these white collar jobs and we're just shooting for, you can't shoot for white collar jobs anymore. So people are going to have to get back out in the field and till and, get the crops and make sure that that gets to the store.
No, we've moved past that, BC. That's not the type of economy we have anymore. We're not allowed to do that stuff anymore.
Uh, that sounds
We're
very
too.
first world of you.
I mean, yeah, we can just, bring people from other countries in here to do those jobs.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's less jobs overall, like if you're seeing
Well,
Amazon
this
fire
this
2
is
million people,
this is why I don't have a problem with manufacturing, but it's the type of manufacturing.
mhm,
Like, it makes sense to do a bunch of chip manufacturing whatever. It makes sense to do that type of manufacturing. Doesn't make sense to do like whatever we were doing 40, 50 years ago. It just doesn't. It doesn't make economic sense to even do it.
mhm.
When you can do other things better and they're more on the forefront of civilization. Like we're moving forward. This is what we do. We push things forward. We don't regress.
No. And,
So I
it's also more economically feasible because you're actually making more money for doing so. A big
right.
part of yeah, a big part of what I would like to bring back here is a lot of our food manufacturing. It's a dirty
Mm,
job and all of that, but we have more robust standards when it comes to our food than some of these countries that we've exported these things to.
do
So,
we?
uh, we have more robust standards when it comes to beef than Brazil and Venezuela does.
Mm.
So,
Do we export to both of them?
no, we import beef from both of them. Most of the beef that we
But
have,
I know we export a lot to the UK.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
because they would rather get it from us than get it from there. Although it is cheaper there, it doesn't fall in line with their guidelines of food safety.
But
Yet
we
we're going to
import from
get
Brazil and
it.
Venezuela?
Yes. I used to work in a meat packing plant. All of our beef was from Venezuela. But because we processed it and packaged it here, it was American beef.
So, but we only take the good beef, or at least
That's what
beef
they
that
say.
meets only beef that meets our standards.
That's what they say. But like, that's all I'm saying. It's like we should bring a lot of that process back here.
And I don't know about you. I know you, but like, look, if you're listening, I don't know where you live, and I don't know who has farms around you. But if there's a farm anywhere near you, it might be 30 minutes from your city, out in the rural areas, right? But there is a butcher shop out there somewhere that you can get your meat from, and it'll be the best meat that you've ever bought.
100%. That's where I get my meat from.
Yeah, don't get it at the grocery store.
No,
That's Venezuelan meat, according to
nothing
BC.
against nothing against Venezuelan beef, but
Everything against Venezuelan beef.
I'd much rather employ an American because like we're very removed from the process, but like we like to eat it. But like you could employ so many more Americans if that was an American process, and you could control the guidelines on it a whole lot better if this was a fully American process. So
You also keep that velocity of money. Well, yeah, yeah.
within our country.
It's in
So
our country, but I mean, you have to really change things pretty dramatically.
mhm.
Yeah, because it's my understanding that we're running out of food.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying it's like if we're going to have a food crisis like this, do we need 15 million extra people in the country creating that demand? And it could be over 15 million. We don't know. That's the problem when
As
it
long as they're
comes.
not vegetarians and they're bringing demand for meat, and that means we get more and more and better meat, then hey, you know,
But is that a process that we're doing? Because we just signed a big deal with Venezuela to bring in Venezuelan beef.
But
More.
see, I hear your demand argument, but why not approach it from a supply side
Hmm.
perspective instead of get rid of these people? I mean, I understand we got to get rid of illegals, violent, non-violent, just as a counter. Why? Why not just try to solve the supply side issue instead of the demand side issue? Or why not do both?
I mean, we can do both, but I don't think that negates the fact of you need a robust screening process. You need to know who is in your country because you got to think about it. Like when it comes to the American country and the population within, we are a high trust society. You can't have that high trust society if you don't even know who's living within your country.
I don't even know my neighbors,
Mm,
but
that's
they're
more
white.
on you. I automatically trust them because they're white. Hello, fellow white
Hello,
man.
fellow white.
But I mean, it is an argument for it's like why do immigrants come in here and only move to immigrant neighborhoods when they want a high trust society? Well, why
Mm,
shouldn't we
good
want the
point.
same thing? Why
Hmm.
shouldn't we want the same thing as a whole country to just be able to be a high trust society to understand that if I look at someone, I know that they are an American citizen that is doing their civic duties. Because if you're an illegal immigrant, you're not, you don't have civic duties. There is no contribution that you're giving to the actual American society.
Yeah, you don't have to do jury duty.
There's that you're also not required to pay taxes. You also don't fall within some of the same laws because you're not actually a citizen, and there's no way to actually enforce some of this. Like if
And
you
what
go.
gets me though, well, here's the argument about the taxes thing though, and I mean, I have my counter to my own counter, but it's they put in a lot for through sales tax, and they'll even do fake social security numbers, and they'll pay into income, they'll pay income taxes and all those tax, Medicare, Medicaid, all that stuff, and not be able to get like any of the benefits from it. In a lot of states, most states, the ones that aren't well, federally, they can't get the benefits. They'll get benefits from states like California and more, more liberal states that have their own programs that help illegal immigrants, which I don't think helps the United States as a whole at all. But, anyways, but yeah, as far as the federal government goes, they actually create more of a budget surplus because they put in so much and can't take any out from the federal government. Now, I know there's probably some that do somehow, some way, but I think the vast majority that is not the case. But I know that for sure. That's why I said the state thing. They're more of a drain in their first like 5 to 10 years on local economies than they are nationally, and that's the thing. It's like, well, that means that local economies have to deal with that, and it's something that they probably shouldn't have to deal with,
Mhm.
unless it's something that they wanted, and that there's a big question about whether or not states should even be allowed to do that anyway. And I already know your view on that, which is
It's
absolutely not, uh,
well, it's
because
against federal law. Like
it's against federal law,
we have a
and
federal
so.
standard, and
Hmm.
we're like for the most part we agree on the federal standard. And
Hmm.
to say that some state is allowed to be like, oh well, we're just gonna be a sanctuary city, and if you're not a legal if you're not legal, you can just come here and put the strain on a local economy. You don't have the right to say that. You don't have the right to do that. Like
But you have the
it's
right to say it.
I mean, it's nice. It's nice that
It's
you
called the
won't.
First Amendment, PC. God,
I mean, you have the. I guess you
I'm
have the
I'm
right to
messing with
say it, but
you.
like you don't have the right to say it as like a legal entity.
Politician.
No, as a
Mhm.
legal entity that represents America, you do not
Mm.
have the right to say that. You do not have the right to do that. You don't get to just dictate that, hey, we don't like this federal law. Go change the federal law. If that's what you want, then go petition it. Watch it get shot down by the American people because it's not robustly accepted. If you don't just get to be a part of America and be like, yeah, but we're not going to follow these federal guidelines. Like that's not to
It
say that
seems
it's
like
moral or anything. It's just this is how it is set up.
blue states and cities are trying to secede from the union. To me,
Hmm.
they're
Yep.
trying to fight the freaking union while they scream for democracy and patriotism. Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All over this one issue.
Yeah,
Well, no, not
yeah.
heavily over this one issue because that's what polarized it. There's more things in it, but no, like this has been the more polarizing part of why we're seeing this.
I think a lot of what's going on with the immigration stuff currently is it's it's a lot of political theater.
Hmm.
I know you agree with that. Um, but it's just I don't know, man. It's just so it's so dumb. Like all around, it's dumb. Like I don't like the way uh, ICE is going about their business, and I don't like the way that people are reacting to it. And I think that they have their duty that they need to do it for sure. And people in states and cities shouldn't be keeping that from happening. They should be working with the federal government to
Hmm.
get this stuff happening. We have laws, we need laws, and we need to follow them and enforce them. And without that, you don't really have a country.
Hmm.
No border, no laws, you don't really have a country. And we're just seeing a lot of and it's creating a lot of chaos on both sides. Thankfully, somehow, some way, I don't know who talked in his ear about it, but President Trump came out and was like, we're just gonna pull them out of Minnesota now." It's just like we're just if they want us there, they can call us and let us know. And it's just like, wow, I did not see that happening, but uh, it also shouldn't be that way either. It should be, we're coming there. You need to work with us. Like,
Yep. Well,
I
it's
don't
like
understand what's going on. I know we
they.
didn't want to touch too much on it. That's why I saved it for the very last bit.
Mhm. Well, it's
So,
like they complained that it's like, oh, well, we're supposed to be getting the criminals and things like that. They wouldn't even allow them to go to the jails and the prisons to pick up the criminals. So, like the
really?
one part, yeah, they blocked ICE and there's Illinois, in Wisconsin, in Minnesota, in California, in Oregon, in all of these states, they blocked ICE officers from going to pick up illegal immigrants that had committed crimes. Where that was the whole point. And we were like, no, we should just leave the ones that haven't committed crimes, that have just lived here for 20 years and been a good person, whatever. But like you're saying that we should only get the criminal ones, yet you won't even allow them to get the ones that have committed crimes. So
Is it,
now,
it's a nonviolent crime. Who cares? It's a crime.
hmm, which just proves that you're not willing to adjust to the American system. You're not willing to be cohesive with your neighbors. You're not willing to be a part of the high trust society that we've built. There's plenty of Americans that don't fall in line with that. Why would we need more?
Yeah, and that's well, and that's one of the counter arguments that you always hear. It's like, yeah, but they'd commit far less crime than natural born citizens. It's like, okay, did I just hear they commit crime? Some. So you want to add to it? You want to add what we already have?
No.
It doesn't make sense to me. Not only that, they're in jail. If they're in jail, that means they are using resources, which is a burden on the taxpayer. So it doesn't make any sense no matter how you try to spin it.
No.
Makes no sense. It is not American. It is not patriotic. It is the opposite of that. Like, I boggles my mind. But yeah. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with all of that, with all the history and everything, and especially the one with the French guy. You know, thankfully someone did think about that because you still need immigration.
Yes.
In my opinion, I think diversity, a diverse society, is one of our biggest strengths, because we get all different types of perspectives, all different types of backgrounds. People have lived different lives, but that means that they can think of things that people that were born here just maybe not have even thought of, and that's pretty much it. You get different levels of education. Maybe one of those immigrants that come here on a visa or something. Maybe they're like some kind of super genius. Maybe their name is, I don't know, Elon. I don't know, and they become the world's richest man, and they contribute to the American way of life, or at least the American economy, quite a bit. And so, that's why it's good to have that immigration. And so, but you still have to have the rules, you still have to have the boundaries, and you have to enforce them. And that's pretty much the general argument that we make. So, there's ways to do it. There's ways to be humane about it, and there's really no reason why, if you are an American citizen, you should be being combative to that idea and to that thought, and that process. We should be getting rid of illegal immigrants because of every reason that's been stated here today. So, yeah.
Oh, definitely. And I would kind of say with our diversity aspect, I think diversity, as long as you're willing to integrate orderly within our system, you're not trying to be come into an America and being like, no, we should be a communist country because America, the country that just took me in, is so terrible. And like, yes, we have our problems. We understand that. That's why we have this show. We would like to fix these problems as American
Mhm.
citizens who want to see our country doing the absolute best. But if you're going to come here, you should want a, to live in the best country too. But a lot of that is just you left your country for a reason. Maybe your country has different morals and they think that women are okay to be oppressed. Don't bring that nonsense here. That's not how we live here. So a lot of this in immigration is just about cohesiveness. You need to have a cohesive country that is high trust, where you can look at your fellow American and just understand that at the core that you can at least semi trust this person to act within accordance of law.
And if you're going to be here for more than 5 years, you need to try and get a citizenship.
Hmm.
Like, if you're just coming here for economics, I mean, that's fine. I think that's fine. If you're just coming here to make some money, I mean, I know to you it's like, well, that money would then leave the country, but they're also coming here and providing us labor at the same time. It's about it's a balance. You got to
Hmm.
get the balance right. So if you need the labor, we can open up that spigot. We can get people in to do the work, 5 years, whatever it is. But like, at some point, if you're going to be living here for the rest of your life, become a citizen. Do
Yeah.
the things that you need to do to become a citizen and integrate into American society. Don't don't continue. why would you even want to continue to live as an outsider anyway?
Yep.
Like,
Well, it's
just
like we
just
shouldn't
integrate,
hear a story where it's like
assimilate.
ICE got this person that was living here for 20 years and they were married and they had kids here and all that. And it's like, why is ICE picking up a person that's lived here for 20 years and they're not a citizen? Like, that's mind-boggling to me.
It is. It is. I mean, and they'll say, well, they have integrated and all this stuff. Yeah, but they're not a citizen.
Hmm.
They haven't done it that one little part. Now, I understand that it is a long process and it can even be expensive. But I mean, how long have you had?
But I think it should be an expensive process. I think that if you want to be part of
Mm,
of America,
good
that
point.
there should be at least some sort of barrier to entry here, so
Mm.
that we are like you're paying some sort of price. Like, it shouldn't just be where it's like, oh, Joe Blow from Pakistan is able to pay $5 and just come to America. There's
Well,
no sort of did if you paid
the
$5, would you care as much about being part of America and assimilating and all of that, like, up upholding the American traditions and things like that? Or if you had to pay
I say
$25,000 to be an American citizen, would you value that a little bit more? Would it be a little bit harder?
if I had $25,000 to spend to become an American citizen, I'm probably fine anyway.
Mhm.
Um, Making it cheaper, I don't think would necessarily be the issue. I think the civics test needs to be harder the cheaper it goes.
I could agree with that.
We get all right. Instead of just your basic, 50 question quiz, it's got to be 200. It's got to be 500. You got to learn everything about America if you want to come here for dirt cheap. All right. And but I don't know. The point is that there's definitely different ways to go about it,
Mhm.
and I don't want to make it easier per se, but maybe I don't know, making it more. Because I mean, what's easier than just being born here? That's pretty freaking easy.
Mhm.
But I also grow up here and live here, and it's like the people that came here when they were like 3, 4, 5 years old. That like getting rid of those people is kind of I don't know. I mean, technically, if they're born here, they're natural born citizens. Um, but if they were brought here when they were like 4 or 5, and this is like all that they know, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of different. I think
But it's like,
maybe we can touch on that later. But
if you got brought here as like a 3-year-old and you've lived your whole life here and you know the whole time that you're not a legal citizen,
hmm,
once you get to adulthood, like, it's kind of on you. Like, you can go become a citizen, but if you just choose
or we
not to,
should.
you're
What if
like,
we
I'm
should
going to
make
live
that
my
person?
life here.
I mean, if that person grew up here and went through the American school system and all that stuff, should that be someone that we? Should that be more of an amnesty deal,
Uh,
or just like we just grant them citizenship?
I see, and this is one where I would say no. Where it's like,
Hmm.
depending on your age, if you're an adult and you've lived here from the time you were a kid and you knew that you were not a citizen and you're getting all of these benefits from the American system, you got your free education, you got all of this, um, why would it just be okay for you not to become an American citizen after that? Could we make it easier? Sure. I'd argue that we could make it a little bit easier, but you should still be an American citizen. Like, it
Yeah,
would
but
suck that you have to go back because this is all you know, but at the same time, you knew that you weren't a citizen.
that's what I'm saying. They know, but they've lived here their entire lives. I think those specific people we should probably make it incredibly easier for them than someone that just got here and they're an adult, like their parents, those people's parents. Because if they're here before they're 5, they're essentially a freaking natural born citizen. Essentially, because this is all they know. Outside of their little community that they grew up in, probably because, like you said, once they come here, they all kind of tend to stick within, close to the people, other people like them, and so it's just kind of like I don't know. I just think there's ways to do it that are a little bit more humane. I say make it a little bit easier for those people, in particular. Not everybody, not every single immigrant, no, but you've been here. You're 3, came here at 3, or brought here at 3. You're 8. You turn 18. When you go to fill out your voting stuff, and it says, "Are you a natural born citizen?" and you say, "No." And then there's another box that says, "If you selected no, would you like to become one?" You say yes. And then they give you a packet, and you go and to do a 10 question quiz or something. I mean, you've been here your whole life. You should know something about America, right? Whatever it is, I just don't know that it should be like super expensive for those people in particular.
No.
That's just that's kind of my argument.
I could kind of agree with that one. It was like it should
But
be easier, but at the same time, if you
but
get caught, sorry, you had every opportunity to be an American citizen, and you
right,
just chose not to
if you
be.
came here when you were 3 and now you're 25 or you're 30 and you're still not a citizen, okay, that's a problem.
Hmm.
That's a problem. You need to become a citizen, just point blank. If we find you at 25 and even though you came here at 3, I'm sorry, you've had time.
Yeah.
You've had time, and guess what? We even made it easier for you, and that also helps the hard
Or,
on immigration argument.
yep.
It's like, look, we made it easy for you, and you still didn't do it. You're gone.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, but it sucks. But I mean, it's tough love. It's tough love. You got to follow the rules. Period.
And,
We're a
and,
nation
and
of law.
that's one of the simplest ones too.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the duties that come with being a citizen are very minuscule. It's not like it's you've really got to do a whole lot because you're a citizen, but there are more expectations because you are a citizen. And becoming part of that high trust society is more than just living here and growing up here,
Mm-hmm.
because you still see a lot of that, and there.
I can be drafted, for instance.
Mhm. But there's also like that community incohesiveness where they're in their community within America that's not trying to be part of America. This is not acceptable. Like
Mm.
you're an American, you're allowed to have your culture or whatever, but this should also be a part of the American culture. Not it's like we're separate from your little United States. No, not okay. And the fact that we're gonna have cities that are just like, yep, that's okay, is not acceptable either. So this is more about just being a cohesive society, building up our trustful society where I can leave my bike on the front lawn and be like, okay, well, it's gonna be there when we get back from being inside. You know,
Mm.
every place in America should be like that. I should trust all of my neighbors enough to leave the kid's bike on the front lawn and know that when we get back outside from getting our drink of water or whatever, or eating our snack, that can come back out and the bike is still going to be there.
Yeah, don't
And
do that
maybe
in Memphis. Too many crackheads.
I know it might be wishful thinking. It might be wishful thinking, but like that is the kind of America I would like to have. And some of those other things that come along with having a society like that, we'll definitely get into discussions on, because the drug problem and all of that. That's a whole separate discussion, which I think is definitely needed to be had.
Yep. All right. I think we're good for this one. What do you think?
I think we're good too. We will have to save the other half of this immigration discussion, which is more of the specifics on how things are being done and how we would like them to be done for another episode. But until then, I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. And I hope you hit that like and subscribe, share this on out so we can get this information to more people. We like to have these discussions and we hope it can reach as many ears as possible.
I love you. Have a good one. Have a good one. Thank you. Thanks, PC.
Thanks, David. I will see you next time.
Counter this, counter that. Freedom's more than tit for tat. Words can build or words can break. Speak the truth for all our sake. A hand that feeds can also bind, but peace can free a restless mind. Fix the cracks, don't paint them bright. The world's not whole without the fight. So rise and speak, don't just comply. Change the script, don't live the lie. Counter this, counter that.